This conference will now be recorded.
All right, thanks for waiting a couple minutes. Susie was running some information off for us. We will call the meeting to order at 3. Roll call, please, Susie.
Randy Johnson,
Present.
Dale Schmidt,
Present.
Leroy Vogt is excused, Tracy Flukie,
Present.
Annette Aventure,
Here.
Kyle Chago,
I'm on my phone. I'm trying to get on my tablet, and it says I get a message saying waiting for the organizer to arrive. So maybe I'll just have to listen on my phone.
alrighty, and Jessica Atkinson is also excused.
All right. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, everybody.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, for which it stands, nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we will take action on the agenda. Does anybody have any changes they would like to make on the agenda? Move anything up or down? Okay.
Hey, Kyle.
Yes?
So the word is to possibly refresh your browser or re-click on that link.
Okay.
See if that helps.
Okay, I'll try that. I'll listen while I'm doing that.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so I need a motion to approve the agenda, please.
No motion to approve it.
Motion by Dale.
Second, Randy.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Action on the minutes from our last agenda, or our last meeting, I should say. I just have a couple of changes I would like to put in. Under comments from the public, if you could just note in that, Susie, that a resident had contacted me on that. I was just bringing it up on their behalf, the glass on Broadway.
Okay,
And just kind of an FYI on where that's at, Mary, the vice president, did reach out to Brown County, and I also have a call into Troy Struckenbach, county executive, to see where we can go with that. And Joel, I don't know if you've done anything or pursued any further as well.
We did talk directly to is it Dean Haynes
This is the port guy.
at the Port Authority. The county does have a street sweeper, and they are to be maintaining that from the glass and the debris. So we just had a conversation with him that he needs to be doing that.
Okay. All right, thank you. And then one other question on site plan, on number 7, site plan review. I believe what Aaron was talking about was the requirements for a bike rack, which meets the APBP, not ABP.
I'm sorry.
A as in apple, P as in Paul, B as in boy, P as in Paul.
Thank
And that's the Association of Pedestrian Bicycle Professionals guidelines. And in that same one, I believe congestion is spelled wrong.
Jeez.
And one other thing, adjournment, there's no time listed. Do we typically put time in for adjourn or not necessarily? Did not see a time, but again, maybe I missed it. So I thought it was a long meeting. I'm like,
It was 5:48.
okay. Any other corrections to the minutes? Anybody, anything that you saw that you'd like to bring up or make change? Otherwise, I would ask for a motion with those corrections.
A motion to approve.
Motion by Dale,
I'll second it.
second by Annette. Thank you, Annette. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. All right, next agenda item is comments from the public. Do not believe we have any comments from any public here besides the regular Members? And I'm just dancing.
Lyle, I think you're logged in now both ways, and we're getting feedback because you have your phone and your computer audio going at the same time. There you go.
All right, we're all set. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, I've done it a few times.
No comments from the public, then we will move on. The site plan review, Kyle, Joel, Rex, Doug, anybody have things from site plan review you'd like to share with me?
The site plan did not meet in the past month.
Okay. Any on your end, Joel, or?
No, as I mentioned, next site plan is scheduled for next week, Tuesday. the 18th.
Okay,
Yeah, postponed and
thank you. Okay, then 8A, under action items, update on the signalized intersection survey, and Doug is here. So Doug, if you would give us an update of what you want from us, that would be great.
So this is the project that we were working on earlier this year at all the signalized intersections in the village. A part of our project where we're going to be putting in some sidewalk this summer and fall, tie into a few of the sites where there's missing sidewalk going to head buttons. And part of the survey, I've only talked for 30 seconds. Somebody can't have fallen asleep already. So as part of this survey, the committee wanted to see some additional items checked at each of the intersections and reported back on. And we'll have that work summarized and done at the end of this month. And in talking with Tracy, she thought it might be an idea, if weather permits, to go out to one of the intersections or meet out there to look at one of them. So that's what I was bringing forward, is just a quick discussion that as we get closer to that next meeting, I'll confirm everything's ready to go, and then Tracy might reach out to you in terms of if it's nice out and you want to go we can go to the intersection just down here if people are comfortable. If not, we can do it online and do it at a later date. Pretty flexible either way.
So the intersection, you're talking, what, Oneida and Morris, or?
We're doing all the intersections in the village.
What I mean,
The sample one would be Morris at Holmgren,
Morrison.
the closest one to the village hall here.
So my question to you is, do you folks want to go out and do a site visit at one of the intersections that maybe Doug picks out that he'd like to show you? And if indeed we want to do that, do we want to add other site visits to that and have our meeting be a bunch of different site visits that maybe Doug can come up with some, Rex can come up with some, I can come up with some that maybe we want to go out and tour and just get a feel for different sites within the community, good, bad, and different. Just to do almost a car tour of the village rather than have a meeting at the village hall. Any interest in that at all? Tie it together.
Sounds good.
As long as we can drive to some of the sites, not walk to all of them.
Absolutely, Annette. We can drive. We can
That's
carpool
good.
or something and just, and if
I
there's
can walk to some, but I have a feeling that it's gonna, whole village is gonna be kind of big.
yes, if we walk the whole village, it would take a while, yes.
Yeah.
So the Park and Rec Department has, I guess, access or control now of the 16 passenger van that public safety used to have.
Yeah.
So that's kind of under our umbrella. So if you all trust me as being a chauffeur,
That would be
I
great.
would be happy to take anybody around in that van. If people felt comfortable being in the van together.
Yeah.
So just out there as an option. That way we
Yeah.
probably wouldn't have to take as many vehicles to
Right,
go to.
would be great.
If we decided to go to multiple spots, we wouldn't have to take so many vehicles. So
Yeah.
I'd be happy to do that and line that up if you guys want.
What do people think about that? If Rex
I'm
was-
fine with that.
Right, okay.
Doug, do you think it would be good to look at all the sites? Doug, are they that much different or?
Policy.
It's still a village view. No, I think doing one intersection will give you a flavor of what we're looking at. It sounds like there might be some other things that Tracy wants to view, so those will get fleshed out over the next month to go visit those. But in terms of the intersections, if we do one, it's gonna give you a flavor of all of them. It's the same process used to analyze each of them.
So if everyone is game, then what we'll do for our June meeting, if you would like, Rex will be our chauffeur. And we will come up with various sites besides the intersection that Doug mentioned. Again, if there are places that you would like to look at, either it's a really good design you think, or something that you kind of go, it's really hard to get through here, or I struggle in this area, we could maybe look at that. So think about that as well, and that we could add to our tour. And then we can just spend time out doing that type of thing rather than in the meeting room.
It's not scheduled to be 3 hours.
No, we will keep it shorter than, Rex doesn't like long meetings, so we're gonna keep it
3-hour
short.
tour. You know what happened the last
Oh,
time? the
yes,
3-hour
yes.
tour went out.
I got it. That totally went over my head.
I'll volunteer to be the singing activity.
Oh,
on this.
God,
So
no.
that'll make the
That'll
meeting
go
short.
really quick.
So-
Tracy, this is Kyle. One of the items we may want to look at is agenda item C, the Oneida Street and Ramada Way intersection. You know, if we, you know, that may be something we want to see next time, depending on what we discussed today.
No, I think that's a great idea. I was gonna recommend that one as well. And I'm sure there's other ones, you know, maybe up at the north end of Holmgren Way. We've talked about that a couple times, you know, maybe going up there and seeing what's really going on up there. There's a lot of different places that I think would be enlightening for us to take a look at and see what's out there. And, you know, just so we understand it a little bit better that way. All right, anything else, Doug, on the intersection part of it or anything? No, okay. Anybody have any questions or anything? Otherwise, we'll plan on June, going out on our 3-hour tour.
Something like that.
No, it's information only, right?
Okay. That's a good idea.
Okay. Yeah. All right, if nothing else in that, then we'll pick Doug's brain again. Update on Holmgren Way and the 172 Holmgren Way underpass lighting.
This was brought up earlier this year. Even late last year. The village has some underdeck lighting at 172 by Holmgren Way. And the lights on there were high pressure sodium lights. A number of them had burnt out. So we had on order for this year some LED lights. And they just came in about 3 weeks ago. Were installed, I think, 2 weeks ago. I might be off by a week. There's one more. When they were installing those lights, there was one ballast that was bad that they had to send back. That's due in, I think, Tuesday, tomorrow. They'll be installing that one, but all the lights are on with LED lights underneath that overpass.
And it looks really nice. I went down there the other night and it's much brighter under there than it ever was, so. Looks good, so I appreciate you taking care of that, Doug. And then the northern end of Holmgren, this came up, I think Jason was our liaison when I first started, and then Jeff came on and asked about the lighting up on the north end of Holmgren, and Doug has done some work on that as well.
Yeah, we got a map here also.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was some discussion, I think, from Jeff and public safety regarding what could be done with street lighting in the entertainment district, if you will, of Holmgren Way. And met with WPS out there, and they do have an LED light option on the street lights, not on the decorative lights quite at this point. And they are able to switch those out to LED lights, which will provide I call it clearer or a brighter light. And the rate on that is just a little bit less than the current high pressure sodium rate. So it ends up working out both ways. And they were looking to get in there the last couple weeks here of May to actually switch those out on the street lights. That's the taller ones, the Cobra head ones, if you will. The decorative lights, the shorter ones, they're hoping by this summer, early fall to have options for those in the future. They do not, they're currently working those through. We Energies has 3 different lights that are available. The WPS branch of We Energies does not have that yet. So they're working through that process internally, and they're going to let me know once they have that available. So long story short, we were able to get those on a schedule for replacement and to see if that helps improve the visibility in that area.
What for the Cobra heads? What's the start and stop point?
Morris Avenue. Okay. It's going Morris Avenue to Lombardi.
So it's not doing anything by the other stadium for the baseball.
Correct. It's stopping at Morris Avenue right now.
Okay.
That was one thing that it brought up, was the other piece.
Oh, okay.
It's dark there. I had, some people were concerned. It's dark there too. And the police officer said that was an area also that was a concern of theirs because it's dark there also when the games end for baseball.
Sure. We could look at that as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Just for clarification on that, what you're looking at is just the replacement of the fixture, right? Not adding additional fixtures?
I would guess it'll be just replacement of the street lights like he talked about so that it would be brighter.
Yeah, because the entertainment section has the post top lights and the Cobra head, so I just want to make sure we were.
Yeah.
Just the overheads, not the fancy stuff.
Okay.
That'll be the one. The confusing look to it is the smaller lights, the shorter lights will still be the high pressure sodium, the orange light I call it. So, but you have that right now where there have been lights hit in the past where you have LED lights and then you have the high pressure sodium lights close by, and it's I think it'll be fine. Those shorter lights mainly light the sidewalk areas anyway, not so much into the road, so yeah. I think it'll be fine.
One thing that Jeff had brought up when he requested this or spoke to me about it, he's gonna have the guys keep an eye on this area still, the northern part of Holmgren, because they've had a lot of issues, and obviously, as everybody knows, there's a lot of pedestrians in there. So he's gonna keep an eye on it and see what kind of situations and kind of keep track of what's going on up there. And the lighting will be great. It'll make it safer, people more visible, but there may be some other things that we need to look at or the village needs to look at in the future to see how we can make it even that much safer. So he was going to kind of keep an eye on that for us and report back, or just see what's really going on in that area, and see if there's any other improvements or something we can look at, whether it's speeding, whether it's fencing, whether it's whatever. He's just going to kind of keep that in mind. So that's scoop on Holmgren. Anything else, Doug, on Holmgren? Any questions for Doug? I want to thank Doug for taking care of that, and also public safety for bringing it up, because it is a really busy area and we just would hate to see someone get hurt up there. And hopefully this will make it a little better than it has been.
I guess the only thing I'll mention just for future, it worked out here in that the cost, there was no cost. If there are issues and all of a sudden there's a cost involved, we just have to understand that we'll have to plan for that. That isn't, we don't have funds to just go out. If you mentioned fencing and other things, if additional lights and things like that, that could end up being a budget item that would have to go through the process. This just happened to work out here, which was great. It's just so we all are on the same page.
Yeah.
So, good things.
Yeah. All right, then if nothing else on that, we'll go on to next agenda, Oneida Street, Ramada Way intersection discussion. Again, this came from Jeff, actually one of the other officers, Officer Buckley. had reached out to him, knowing that he was on the bike ped committee, and was wondering about the possibility of flashing crosswalk lights in the area of Oneida Street and Ramada. His concern is the roadway is 6 lanes wide here, and it is very dangerous for pedestrians to cross. There's also a slight curve in the area, so I know I've crossed there, and when you're crossing, you're looking kind of to the north, it's a little harder to see motor vehicles coming that way. So that's where this is coming from Officer Buckley as well as Officer Panzier, to see if we can, not that we have to go through anything, but maybe just talk about where we could go from here and what we want to do to, look at it, or if there's others that we could bring in to take a look at it. It is a county road, I believe, right? Is that right, Doug?
Yes, Oneida Street's a county road. I did a little scaling. It's about 400 feet from the crosswalk by Subway to the center of the on-ramp intersection.
And that map is in everyone's packet.
Yeah. And about 140 feet from that crosswalk to the end of the off-ramp lane that comes off 41 and you see ties into Oneida Street in front of 199rides.com.
Yeah.
I was so tempted. And
I could sense there.
I was gonna do my best Ric Flair. I guess if you're looking for maybe a little insight or a little recommendation, when you get close to state trunk highway facilities, it's a county roadway, but it's within 1,000 feet of the on-ramps and off-ramps of a state trunk highway. I would probably contact the state first to see what is allowable for any additional signage, lighting, things of that nature. Generally, within 1,000 feet, and I might be off on that distance a little bit. Generally, within 1,000 feet of their facilities, they have some different rules than they do as you go further down away from the on-ramps. As you can imagine, only being 140 feet, from the crosswalk to that off-ramp coming down onto Oneida Street is a short distance, and they may not be overly interested in having a hard stop of some sort there happening.
Well, let me tell you, you're right, Doug, because I ate my lunch in Denny's parking lot today, and the crosswalk is just, it's not right by the intersection, it's a little way down. The traffic was nonstop and fast, and they come off the highway. I agree, I would have to be with the state. It's so close to the off ramp from the highway that if you have some people stopping and a lot of traffic coming off the on ramp, you're going to have backups and you're going to have accidents that way with cars. It was fast, and I think it was nonstop. There may have been a pause in traffic, but not enough of a pause for someone to even cross, without lights, but with lights even, it was busy. And that I have to admit, it was around 11:30 noon time, but it was busy. I would even hesitate putting lights there because it looked pretty dangerous.
There's 2 crosswalks. I don't suppose it would make any difference.
I only saw one. I saw a bumped up curb. I saw by the intersection, it was like you couldn't cross. So it was like I only saw one crosswalk, and it was red brick or something like that, and it was going towards the subway, but I didn't see any other unless you step up on that thing, the bumping thing, the boulevard kind of thing.
Yeah, there's one other crosswalk to the north that takes you over to where Starbucks is, and
It's in front of 5.
and yeah, and Five Guys.
That
So
one might,
crosswalks within what,
But that
a
might be
block?
too close as well. I don't know.
Yeah. And that was all done with the state.
Yep.
When the state did the work there, they did that work. They put in those crosswalks and put in that infrastructure.
if there's one further north than the one I saw, which was by Denny's, then it might work with the traffic, because it's not too close to the highway and the off and on ramp, but the one I saw was pretty close.
What, this surprised me, what Jeff had told me, because I was assuming the concern was with northbound going traffic, so people coming off the off ramp that Doug just spoke about. but he said they really are having high speeds coming from Hanson Road. So people are going to Quick Trip, taking a left, going southbound on Oneida Street. And he said they are flying to get to the freeway. And and I was surprised that that was more of an issue to them than the other direction, the northbound traffic. So I just told him I'd bring it up, and then he said he didn't know if there was any speed limit signs between Hanson Road and getting down onto the freeway. And I don't know off the top of my head if there is, but he's like, maybe that's probably the problem. People think they're getting on the freeway and they're going 55, 60 down that section.
I
So,
mean, I could see that people accelerate when they're increasing speed.
Yeah.
People decrease because they know they're coming into busy.
into the
areas.
town, into the community
Yeah,
kind of thing.
This
But
might be a good one to do a site.
visit on, yeah.
Mhm.
And then maybe Doug, if you wouldn't mind reaching out to the county or to the state
Yeah,
and see.
There's a point there where there's actually 9 lanes.
Exactly, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous. I have stood there for 20 minutes, not that long, but I stood there to try to cross that road, and it's very difficult, very difficult.
I would think.
I did see more traffic going south, and I couldn't figure out why there was more traffic going south than traffic coming off the highway, but there was definitely more traffic going south than north. He's right about that.
The first thing I'd probably do is just do a courtesy call to the county, just to let them know that we're investigating it, and that we also make a courtesy call to the state.
Okay.
Just to see what rules or regulations they would have.
Okay,
I suspect based on the speed of travel and the number of lanes, you're looking at what would likely be that sign bridge over that highway, because if you just put the 2 signs on the terrace area of the roadway, it's
Do it.
not going to be sufficient.
Yeah. and even, I'm sorry, I don't, someone else is gonna have to decide, but maybe even a hawk signal there where the pedestrian pushes it, they're stopping that traffic. Because otherwise, how the heck are you gonna get across 6 lanes? And maybe that's totally inappropriate, but I think there's something more major that needs to happen there than your typical yellow sign saying there's a crosswalk ahead, because this isn't gonna do it,
But maybe to Rex's point, you could move that down to the north one and eliminate, I'm surprised they put that crosswalk, but they're engineers.
Yeah, I mean, they're both used a lot, I think, or they're both kind of needed. And the bad thing about the one going to Starbucks, when you get across in front of Starbucks, if you are in a wheelchair, you can't walk, you need a cane or whatever, you run into a dead end there. You have to there's a sidewalk that goes off, go back to Ramada Way, then you get on the road and you have to go down the road to try to get back into Starbucks or into that strip mall there where the burger place is. There is no cut through from that crossing to be able to get into that strip mall there. So anybody that's handicapped or on a wheelchair, either they go on Oneida Street and go in the driveway going into Starbucks, or they have to go back to Ramada to try to get in there. And that piece was just never put in for whatever reason. I think the state, when I approached the state about it, like, why won't we put this in? And they said it was private property or the village has to do that. So that's another thing I think to look at and see if we're looking at that whole area. So,
Yeah, the map shows it.
yeah, because you just can't get in there if you're disabled in any way, or if there's snow, you have to go around. Okay, so if we do this, if Doug would check with the state, also check with the counties, and just, to see what their thoughts would be and, how they could help out or, whatever. And then just come back to us and let us know what they're saying. Any other comments, anybody on that area, anybody gone through there, or anybody have any other concerns you want to raise at this point, or comments?
Well, just one other thing, as long as we're talking about that area, there's been a couple of times that I have been at Office Max and just going to make a right turn on Oneida Street. And there are some trees there pretty close to the street, and it's difficult to see traffic coming from your left if you're trying to get out of that driveway by Office Max.
It's by the Olive Garden.
Okay.
You know exactly.
By the Olive Garden, right.
You know exactly where you mean.
Same thing with Panera's. Panera's I can't see left either. They have some bushes or something there.
All right, Rex, could you maybe pass those on to Tim? Just see if you could take a look at that.
Sure, for the vision triangle.
Or just, yeah, just have them take a look at it. Maybe they just need to be pruned out or something. I don't know. You know,
No, they're in your direct line.
those are crabs, aren't they?
They're in the direct line, so it's either the trees
Get rid of
stay or the trees go.
I have one question, Tracy. Is it, if I'm going north on Wabi and then it turns into Oneida, is it legal to make a U-turn when you get past the what do you call it, the peninsula there on the road, farther down past the hotel there? A lot of people.
You're talking in front of like Goodwill, right? To make a U-turn?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what I've done a few times, I'll be honest. I mean, I come
saw
out of
you
like,
the other day, Rex. I saw the beetle there. I said, look at that bug spinning around in a circle. I always wondered that because people can't get on the highway.
Right.
And if they're coming out of the,
they wouldn't let you make a direct left turn, so you gotta go north and make a U-turn to go south.
Yeah, I think that's the way it was designed, wasn't it? I remember that. So they designed it that way, Randy.
it is designed that's legal in the middle of the street like that to make a U-turn. Okay.
That surprised me because I talked to Officer Buckley because I make U-turns and he said legally the only time you can make U-turns is if you're at an intersection. So that's what he told me. So I don't make any U-turns unless I know there are streets there, intersections, because he said legally, if it's a driveway, you can't do it. It has to be a street. That's what he told me.
There you go. Well,
So we'll see.
put an officer.
Yeah, because everyone come out of Starbucks that wants to go back on the freeway. That way. We can double check. Too bad Jeff is not here. He is on vacation this week.
Oh, he's
Otherwise,
gone? Okay.
yeah, he's on vacation this week. So
Okay.
you could double check with him, Randy, and see what the scoop is on that. So I know.
Interesting.
Yeah,
So a
it
lot
is
of out of towners, so there's a lot of people doing it. And they don't know that they're coming 50 miles an hour going south on Oneida. So you see quite a few where they turn both lanes, at least two of the lanes. So it's not a safe situation.
I agree.
It's pretty
Okay,
popular.
as long as we're on this, different people have different rules because I was told by Officer Buckley I could move in the middle of the intersection to turn a left because this is probably by Quick Trip and going to the post office. But I did that and a state trooper picked me up and said, you can't do that. He didn't give me a ticket, but I got picked up. So now I don't go in the middle of the intersection anymore because he said you're not supposed to. So who knows?
All right, we will check with Jeff on your question, Randy, and see what he has to say about that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, anything else on Oneida, Ramada? Doug will do some checking for us, and then we'll bring that back maybe at the July meeting or something, you think?
Well, it sounds like we're driving, that'll be our destination.
Oh, yeah, we'll go look at it in June, and then we'll talk about it then if you get any
After I get
feedback.
done singing my first song, I will give you an update on
Please, no singing.
Ramada.
No singing. Thank you.
They're all straws. You can try and make it across.
Yeah. Yeah.
Winner gets a $5 burger.
I've never had a Starbucks. I've never eaten there. Thank you, Doug.
Thanks, Doug.
Yeah.
Yep. Everyone.
You too. All right, so we're on to item D, action on bike and pedestrian plan project additions.
Okay, so we got the updated, or at least to the best of our knowledge, updates, and I'd like to thank everyone who continually is working on this. But to add anything to it, and Tracy, this kind of goes a little bit with what your question was earlier today.
Yeah, and the reason I asked
Is because this is a comprehensive plan.
Right.
To officially add anything into the comprehensive plan, we have to make a motion. So if you take a look at the recommendation, it says this includes the Highland Ridge development. What I meant by that is, okay, we need to have an official motion to have it added in.
Okay, and I was confused that it was already in there, so I was looking for it, like, you just don't see it, so that's why I was
We're
confused.
gonna
I'm
need
sorry.
we're gonna need a motion to add it into the plan, because it would be an official addition to a village document then. So like, I'm reticent to just add stuff in.
Yeah, oh,
You know
no,
what I
and
mean?
that's fine, I
We'll make
just,
it
I read it
official.
wrong, I
Yeah,
read it
we'll
wrong,
make
that's all.
My bad, I probably wasn't clear.
No, I just read it.
So anyway, Dale, thank you. I know you've worked diligently the last year or two, and then I know Randy has probably had input on this, if I'm remembering right, back in the day, but for continually update this and work on kind of organizing it a little bit more. Thank you for doing that.
So we have to vote on making this a part of our,
No, any additions, whenever we add,
okay, when we
whenever we
add,
add stuff in, technically, because
Need
it's
motion
changes
to
to
add.
the comprehensive plan, we need to have a motion that the committee agrees that it is worthy of being added into the official plan.
so the only reason I asked that, Rex, is because this is not in the plan that you guys created before I even came on board. So how does?
It will be, it'll just be an addendum.
It's addendum, okay, got it.
Well, and that's what I was asking Susie about before. When this document first started, what was the reasoning behind it? Because it looks like at the beginning it has the page numbers of where all that is in the plan, so it corresponds to that. And then obviously at some point, things were added that were not in the plan and you have the year and what was added and all that stuff. So what was the impetus getting this all together like this? What was the reason behind it initially?
A lot of it was to be able to sort it. So if you look at a region, which is column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right?
Yeah.
We could literally sort to an area that we want to look at and see where are we at on that. And the idea was that we have all these suggestions, but how do we track them if we're not reviewing them?
Yep.
This forces you kind of to review them, because we either have a response and status or recommendation, or we don't, which we have some that don't right now, right?
Yep.
So we know we need to address that. And we can go back and look at the other ones and say, yes, we could literally go to status and say, we know these are completed, because it's going to tell us it's completed.
Okay,
And then sort them accordingly, because otherwise we've got a lot of them,
yes,
but who goes back and looks at them all? We don't even,
right.
but we want to try to do that, right?
So it's just a way to make it easier to look at it rather than looking through the whole plan all the time. So it's an easier way to keep track of it. And then if there's some that are from 2019 and it's done, at some point when the plan is redone, then that would be put into the plan? Or not necessarily, or this document will still be
It would be taken out of this and put into the completed
listed?
list.
Okay. So this is more of a what we're working on list versus
Kind of tracking
it off. Okay.
And I'm not saying this is the right tool. It's just what we got.
you
That's
came
what we
up
got.
That's what
Okay.
we came up with.
Okay, does anybody have any corrections or anything for the plan or anything that is not in there that you thought should be or anything? I guess do that first. All right, hearing nothing then, Rex, then we have to put in
I would
the
say,
Highland Ridge.
yeah, I would say that we want to approve the plan with the addition of the Highland Ridge development accommodations. Approve the plan as presented with the Highland Ridge accommodations.
And can you please clarify for everybody, because maybe the committee does not know what ended up at Highland Ridge.
Well,
And Highland Ridge, just to remind you guys, I'm sorry, was the northern section of the golf course.
Yep.
Just to the east, the west of Sand Acres.
so Highland Ridge is 134 home development that is going to be taking up the northern part of the Highland Ridge golf course. Highland Ridge Drive is basically intersects with Sand Acres Drive. Highland Ridge Drive will initially go east-west, and as it goes into the development, it starts to curve to the south. Eventually, as the more development happens, it'll hook up with Grant Avenue. But Highland Ridge Drive right now is kind of east-west, just think of it that way, coming off of Sand Acres Drive. Long story, it was a very divided, somewhat, discussion at the village board level with different people and different ideas. I think our recommendation was to have sidewalks on both sides of Highland Ridge Drive. Village board saw fit, with the majority vote to change that to have a trail on the north side of Highland Ridge Drive, similar to what we have on Sand Acres Drive. And so the trail is what's being designed and planned right now. As part of that whole project, there will be crossing accommodations on the corner of Highland Ridge Drive and Sand Acres in the form of a striped crosswalk, as well as, I believe, solar-powered flashing lights, similar to what we have on Cormier Road at Shady and Cormier Road and Santa Barbara, where someone can push those lights and it can flash. As I said, it was not agreed upon unanimously. There were a lot of different opinions. This is the decision that came out of our village board of how the development was going to proceed.
And the village board did also vote on 2 access points. So we talked about at the committee having an access to the south between lot 121 and 122 or something like that.
Those were agreed upon.
That was agreed upon. And then also having an access point on outlet 2 heading to the west. So that is in there as well. And the trail, I think, continues down Hawk. Is that what's the name of that?
Yep.
So it'll hit Hawk and then Hawk kind of goes south. And eventually, like Rex said, will tie into Grant. So that's what was approved at the village board.
You may have said this, let's make sure. So we will have some type of path on Grant from the other subdivision that's being created.
I'm sorry,
On
say that.
Highland Ridge Drive, there will be a trail on the north side of Highland Ridge Drive.
That's the development with 134.
Yes.
Then you have the other one with the duplex or twin dominiums, whatever. That's
Three Putt Meadows.
Yeah, that one has not
okay.
gone through the
Okay.
planning commission or village board.
So yeah, this is just the northern piece that went to village board.
I think you did well. I like the idea with the flashing because the kids are going to come out of there and want to go to the park.
Yeah, that's an attractive nuisance. A park, everyone will want to get there,
Yep.
which is a good thing, but yeah. So then maybe a motion from someone to put in, it would be the trail on Highland Ridge. Do we need to put the cut throughs and the enhanced crosswalk in there as well? Correct, or not? What do you think?
I don't think we have to. I think that could be more, I think it'd be nice to put that in for accomplishments, but I don't know if it needs to be in the plan, per se. We can do either way. Doesn't matter. It certainly doesn't matter to me. I suppose it would be probably good to put the cut throughs as I'm thinking through it, as I'm talking.
Yeah.
Just because those will connect to future connections.
Right.
And therefore, they probably should be in the plan, so we can show that we've got those connectors thought out ahead of time.
All right, so if I could get a motion from somebody then addressing the trail and then the cut throughs, and might as well add the enhanced crossing in there as well. All 3.
Motion to
Yep.
approve that.
Okay, motion by Dale. Anyone second?
I'll second.
Second
Kyle.
by Kyle. All those in favor say aye.
Hey,
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We will add that to the Highland, or excuse me, we'll add Highland Ridge development aspects or biking pad aspects to our plan. Thank you, everybody.
Highland, just a quick question, Tracy. I don't have my
Yes.
map with me. Highland Ridge, is that the one road that goes all the way through the subdivision or just the entrance?
That Highland Ridge
Both.
goes both. It goes up Sand Acres and goes all the way through the subdivision. And then when it gets to the far west side, it turns in and becomes Hawks. So it is the main road and the only road going into that subdivision right now.
So how many feet is that trail in approximately? How many lots?
Give me a moment and I can get you an answer.
Well,
I'll
just
look it up.
without a map, I was trying to.
I'll look it up in a moment.
Okay,
One
that's
of the-
fine.
one of
I found it interesting that we used a trail instead of a sidewalk. It's so much, when you're in a subdivision like that, it looks so different. If it's a trail, it's probably gonna be blacktop, huh?
Yes, typically, yep.
Front of a house. I was on the east side the other day and I saw I hadn't been there in quite a while, the Preserve, which is the same developer as the Woods, or the Wood or whatever it's called that we have. And they have sidewalks on one side. It's unbelievable how nice that looks. I guess we've never gone over there and looked at it and what difference that makes to that community. Having a nice, clean sidewalk on one side. They've got it on one side of the entire subdivision of the Preserve, which is the same developers. Kind of far to have a tour, but I was pointing it out that when you see something, it makes quite a bit of difference in front of a house, a blacktop driveway and a cement driveway.
Yeah, and we could actually add it to the tour, go out there and see, it's not gonna be there yet, but see where the road's proposed to go out and, the access point and all that stuff. So we could certainly go out and take a look at that at Sand Acres and even look at that southern property if that one comes to be on Grand Street.
Because the other issue
That's
is
just a field right now.
I know it is, I know, it is.
Pretty hard to move up.
Yeah.
I'll drive wherever you guys want to drive.
to Randy's point, so if it's a trail in the winter, who cleans it?
That's the
It's not a
that's a great
sidewalk.
debate again. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he brings up a good point. If
Yeah.
it's not a sidewalk and it's a trail, then who cleans it?
So Randy, just to kind of give a little bit of context behind some of the conversation. So obviously the committee recommended sidewalk throughout the entire subdivision.
Mm-hmm.
We approached the developer with that thought process. There was some conversation about, well, what if we just at least hit that main street? Because that was kind of some of the conversation the committee even had before they got to their end action about everywhere. They said, well, why not at least through that main road, at least not through the entrance, and then have an enhanced crosswalk. So we as staff were certainly amiable to that conversation about putting it at least on Main Street, coming in Highland and then Hank. Then they came back to the village and indicated that there may be conflicts with the utilities on what would be the south side of the street. And that's a whole other conversation, but that was the basis for requesting the village allow for a trail on the north side. So the developer came back and set a trail. We kind of, from a staff perspective, we took kind of a laissez-faire approach to it. We presented both options to the village board. As Rex had described, there was a lot of kind of deliberation between either sidewalk or trail. And that concept of snow removal was one that came up. So definitely talked about sidewalk being an issue for the abutting homeowners. They're gonna have to maintain that under the ordinance and under statute. The trail, not necessarily, but somebody, there's a desire, and the board knows this, that there's a desire by this committee and other residents certainly that wanna maintain the trails in the winter. And if it's a trail, now the village is gonna have to maintain it. So we kind of talked about a bunch of pros and cons. Safety was also a factor with the side path versus sidewalk.
Yep.
But there are certainly members of the board that feel, whether it's right or wrong, perceived or actual, that trails are more accommodating than sidewalks. So that is the route that they elected to go.
Yeah.
And all told, we're talking maybe about 1,500 feet, lineal feet of trail. So maybe a quarter to a third of a mile.
Okay.
And we're crossing about 15 residential lots.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions on the, I'm on the wrong one, on the, heck was the title? The project plan additions, anything else on that? And we voted for the Highland Ridge addition. Anything else or any other questions on that? All right, so then we will go on to the next agenda item, which is discussion on the future presentation to village board on trail clearing. And I know, Randy, thank you for putting the draft together on this. Maybe if you want to start off, I know Susie, I think, emailed it to everybody. Oh yeah, Terry emailed it to everybody that hopefully got it at home. And again, I apologize for this getting out late. It's hard to look at it and make a decision when it comes so darn late, but.
Well, I didn't get it to you late, so not your fault.
No,
I thought you were on vacation for 3 weeks, so that's why I held up on it, so.
Yeah, sure. All right, so Randy, I don't know if you want to just walk us through it. You put it together and get us a start at least, and
Sure, I just tried to do a little feeling on the introduction about winter. People are walking, where people are really walking in the street or indoors because the trails are full of snow. And I got into a little of the double standard of inequities of transportation. Clearing streets, there's no question about it, but safe routes for pedestrians, it's not part of most local transportation plans. But the good news is, and I did quite a bit of research on it, there's a lot of cities that are starting to recognize clearing the trails is important for quality of life and equity, and that they feel it deserves public support. A lot of different options out there. So I broke it into about 5 parts. One is the request to have the village clear the paved trails throughout the village. Then the scope is, I thought we had about 11 miles of trails. I didn't have the details, so that'd have to be inserted, but about 11 miles of paved trails throughout the village. And I thought a nice attachment would be a map of those trails, because I assume many of the trustees maybe haven't been on them. The approximate cost, the average dollars per mile, we had talked about that, Joel, and we had some numbers based on an average winter snowfall. And I thought maybe a nice attachment would be what we got from the local communities of their cost, as well as not detail, but their policies of, let's say, 24 hours or 12, 48 hours, what they do and who does it. Whether it's the local municipality or if they contract out. The frequency, I think the committee talked about going to a little longer period of recovery time of plowing it after a snowfall, depending on what kind of savings it could provide, if it's a lower priority. It was interesting how many cities I found are contracting with farmers to do it, because in the winter they're not working their fields. So it's interesting how many of them had farmers that are coming in and doing the sidewalks. I mean, people are very creative. Actually, one city had a fundraiser and they bought the equipment and people sign up and they plow them. I mean, it's really creative what they're doing to get it done. And then the reason for the request, I said over the years we've received requests. All of us have received requests. Why aren't the trails plowed? We've asked the same question ourselves. Some people need it for transportation. Talk to people on Packerland that to get to the bus, they're walking in the street. And that was a while ago, so I don't know if the bus still goes out there, but their way of connecting to it. Others, it's recreation, which is still important. But I added a third one, which I found multiple places, and that's the benefits. There's an increased interest in the health benefits of winter exercise. I put an attachment in, just one example of it, and it's listed there, of how colder air actually helps your body when you're out doing exercise outside in the winter. And I think I listed there were 9 different benefits from it. Sunlight, the calories, the immune system. Walking outside in the winter can wake up the immune system, decrease inflammation. And a lot of research is being done about this. So it's nothing that we're just coming up with. So I was kind of thinking, we've always talked about it from transportation, and a lot of people say, I don't think there's that many people. And then the next response quite often is we talk about recreation. Well, there's other ways they can get that. They can join a health club or something. I thought this third one was interesting. I thought it just raised a new awareness of why so many communities right now are actually doing it. It's expanding. Well, we can see it just in our local area, how it's expanded in the last couple of years. So that was just a proposal, Tracy, of kind of what could be put together. Needs some filling in of some data that I didn't have, but thought it, now that Joel, you said they've already know about it, so it's nothing new, but I just thought it kind of packages it in a way. So open for suggestions, and it was just my thoughts on how I thought we could kind of put it together. Finish it off with discussion, questions. If they have any requests for additional information, we can surely get it. So.
Hey, Randy, this is Dale. So I ran across one that was called Advocacy Advance. Did you have to read that one when you're online?
What was the name of it again?
Advocacy Advance, and it's a partnership with the Alliance for Biking and Walking and the League of American Bicyclists.
Okay.
It's older, but it talks about the places that are doing it. It says the response we heard from communities who are overcoming this challenge was remarkably consistent across community size, context, and project type. We build and maintain our bicycling and walking facilities because they are a priority of our community.
Yeah.
So to your point, we have priorities with all the other stuff, and I just kind of listed some stuff. And I mean, we want to do this nicely, right? But from a perspective of a person that does want to walk or bike or whatever, we have parks, we have pools, we have trees in our right of ways. Somebody has to go trim them and maintain them. So we have other costs involved with other things that people like to do that maybe aren't walkers, but we do it because we're a community that wants to try to take care of the people. So I like your approach here. I think it's great. And I think we just got to keep pushing. Because at some point, if you want to be a community, especially of the younger generation, you better be ready for paths and bike lanes and walking and not being in a vehicle and Teslas and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
It seems to Tracy, it seems to me, and we just stepped back where we asked for sidewalks in Highland Ridge, and the village board seemed to prefer paths. Well, if they have expressed a preference to paths, they should be prepared to make them usable.
Yep, that's a very good point, Kyle.
Well, plus, you know, there's people spending some big money. I think of the Rodeau area. We went in some of those. They're $1 million. You know, and they got the path right behind them. I don't know if I'd want that right by my house, but now they got this nice path. They got this nice home that's paying a few property taxes.
Yep.
Now you have this whole area out Highland Ridge where there's going to be a considerable increase in property tax.
Yep.
And now they can get out and go across to the park, but they can't use the path because the path isn't cleared.
Right.
You saw it. I don't know. Yeah, we just need to present it and see where it goes.
Yeah.
And I understand there's a lot of things to do with the budget. Rex knows only too well, but what is the real cost of this? And I know it's going to increase taxes, but what is it?
Well, I think
Is it $1? Is it $10? Is it?
Well, with TIF, I mean, when Joel, you came up with what, 20 to 25,000, was that about right when you did your calculations last time?
Yeah, I was looking at it as we were going through here, and based on in-house time and material that we spend currently with trails and sidewalks, we look at about $2,500 per mile. Is kind of that average figure, depending on the season. Based on the data that Doug had provided before, we have about 12.6 miles of trail that we do not currently maintain.
That's high.
That's
Is that
fine.
high?
I thought it was like 9,
That's like 9 or 10.
9 or 10.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's.
Might have
That's
some
what I know,
unpaved.
so
I thought there was
9.3
some-
rings a bell, but for some reason that's
Yeah.
not what I
Yeah,
heard.
I think he's figuring in some of the unpaved.
Yeah, some unpaved trails.
Oh, there you go.
Yes, like Sherwood maybe, and
So,
Good Valley.
that's right, okay.
Yeah.
So I thought it was like 9.3 rings a bell.
I think it's like 9. Yeah, but then if you have Highland Ridge in there,
It'll be 10.
be 10. So it's gonna be 10.
We're looking at about $20,000 to $25,000 annually.
And that's if we do it in-house, you said, but you had talked about trying to contract.
Yeah, and I would suspect that based on those numbers that you had provided from the county for the east, or the Fox River Trail, we would presume that, I think they were spending about $1,000 per mile.
Yep.
And we presume that we would probably have to double that, because they're one and done. They clear it and they're done. Whereas for us, there's a probability if we maintain it, you're probably gonna look at doing it at least 2 times. Because we'll clear it, and then there'll probably be some other activity that goes on the road as far as winging and things like that, and other plowing operations, and now we're gonna have to probably double up the efforts. So I would say it's probably gonna be around that $20,000 mark. The $25,000 mark would probably be a good figure between the two.
Yeah. And I know, Dale, you asked a couple times what that equates to per house, and Joel, didn't you say it's like pennies, correct?
Yeah, I can get you
I mean, it's not, when you look at it per person, or per
Yeah.
household, it's not adding much. Because it's a very small amount in the scope of the whole village's budget.
And that, with you saying that, I understand the board has to look out for us as people that are paying the property taxes too. I get that. But when I look at this and I look at all the other things we do in the village, so somebody likes to walk and run rather than go and play in a baseball diamond or go in a pool or I mean, there's so many other things. I just see, to me, the future, if you, like Randy did a lot of work on this, but if you look at it, the future, a lot of these cities, and larger cities probably more so than a small suburb, but you look at Minnesota, you look at Madison, you look at, I mean, it's a priority for them
It is,
to have the.
absolutely. We're just asking for this to be moved up on the priority list here.
Yep.
Does anybody have, Randy, thank you for putting this together. It looks great. Does anybody have anything else they would like to add to it? And hopefully you all got a copy that you're able to look at. So then really, if we want to, use Randy's outline here, his draft, we need to get the map of trails, which I think Francine had done already. That was at one of our last meetings. I think she had done that for us. Get the cost, if someone in the village could put a cost together of how many miles, get the exact miles and what the total cost would be. And then if we put attachment C, like the whole thing about winter exercise, I think that's a great idea because that's become a big deal. Winter cities is a new trend that's out there to get people moving during the winter months. So then the other question is who wants to come to the village board meeting and present this? I think if we got a few people from this committee coming, and which meeting would we like to try to bring this to? We had talked, I think, initially about June, but I was forgetting that we could actually get to the May one if that was our choice too. So please provide some feedback on those questions, guys.
I'd pair up with somebody if somebody would like to. I mean, it's up to you guys, but
I'd be willing to go to a meeting.
Okay.
This is
Yeah.
Kyle.
I'd go too. I think
And Dale?
the more we have there, the better.
Yep, I think so too.
Want to reach out to Jessica, maybe?
Yeah.
Yep.
I guess if we want to decide who wants to present, maybe Randy, if you would want to take the lead on presenting, and maybe if Kyle and Dale want to take pieces of it, if you three want to work together on how you want to present that.
Sure.
Okay, and then we'll encourage all the bike ped committees to come to the meeting, and you can certainly provide input as well. So which meeting would we like to go to? Go ahead. Joel, do you have any feel for if May is really full already and we should go to June, or if May would be a good one? I know
When is May?
May is the 25th.
Because I was gonna say, winter's far away. If we want to have some time to review Randy's
Proposed, okay,
and then get the numbers together, maybe,
okay.
because we're not gonna change anything right now anyways, right?
No, and it wouldn't be too late for the budget or anything, so
Oh, that's the other thing, yeah.
You know,
forgot
we-
about that.
get it done in time for budget.
Yeah, that's important.
Rex has meant, one of the things that came out of the whole discussion on Highland Ridge is the development or review. And I think it was Randall that mentioned it at the last Bike and Ped meeting. Updating our ordinance so that it's very clear as to what's a required improvement in these new subdivisions. So Aaron Schutte, our community development director, is drafting some language on how that would, what that framework would look like. Is it in the form of an ordinance? Is it a policy? Is it a combination of both? And the direction that he was given from me was because there seems to be a little bit of a divide between this committee and the board as to what they would like. Let's start with the board and make sure that we have a good understanding of what their desired outcome is, and then we can bring it back through committee for feedback so that you can kind of look at it versus kind of working in a vacuum and then presenting something to the board. And so Aaron is planning on doing that for that meeting on May 25th.
Now, Aaron's is specifically to sidewalks, or it's to other improvements for residential developments, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so it doesn't really have anything to do with trail clearing at this point.
No, and the only reason why Rex was mentioning it is
Yeah.
a good point, is there's two thoughts of it. It ties things together,
Yes.
or it might muddy the water.
Right, and that
I
was,
need more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so would it make more sense to keep those two thoughts separate versus together, or does it make more sense to keep those thoughts together? I guess my initial inclination is try to keep them separate, but Rex, did you have some thoughts on that too?
I just brought up that point that I'm not really sure. I hadn't really thought it through, but
yeah, well, and I brought that up with Joel too, because I knew the sidewalks thing was, you were working on that, and I thought, if we bring the trail thing and the clearing at the same time, is that muddying the water too much and getting way too much? So maybe waiting was kind of my feeling on it might be better. I don't know.
you don't want to wait anywhere past June though, because
No. Then you start budget.
then you start the budgeting in July and August. And
Yep.
and if you do it past June, you won't have a chance to come back here for recommendations to go back before the budgets are submitted.
True.
So June would be the latest for this.
Yep.
So we even waited.
I agree. I think June is the
June?
very latest, but June would probably be preferable.
Okay. What's the date of the June meeting? Does everybody have that?
That should be.
The 22nd.
A second? Okay. All right, so we'll take the trail clearing to the June 22nd meeting. That will give Dale, Randy, and Kyle, and I would sit in with that too, you guys, if you would like me to get the presentation together and figure out who's gonna say what and get that all organized for that meeting. So we can maybe just do a separate meeting with the four of us. Is that okay to do that? And that
If you do, I would just make sure that you publish a meeting notice.
Okay,
So I would just hold a special meeting, have an agenda, post it, and you
Okay.
can have it like a work session, if you will.
okay. All right, so can I work, Susie, can I work with you on then
Yeah.
getting that together? Okay, so I'll reach out to you guys and see what date works, and then we'll try to get something together and do that.
Tracy?
And then- Yes, dear.
We reach out to Jessica because she's younger and she has a lot of good young ideas about sidewalks, and she's the one that brought up other communities and looking at them and how they do things. So I would really like to reach out to her and maybe even see her at the meeting, because she would be a good representation for it. Not that I'm old, but I am, but for the younger people.
Okay, no, that's a great idea. We will reach out to Jessica for sure. Susie will reach out to Jessica and see how she wants to be involved in that as well.
Great.
The younger.
Macro, now I feel so old. This is an afternoon meeting, right? This
Yeah,
isn't-
I was thinking the same thing, Randy.
We'll do afternoon.
Holy man, this is rough.
All right, so we'll get that organized and do that. The other thing I was thinking of with this whole presentation to village board, when I was out campaigning, I ran into people that I talked to that felt very strongly about the trails being cleared. I don't want a million people coming to the village board meeting, but I may reach out to a select few of them that I thought had really good reasons for it being cleared, like the woman that has a daughter that's in a wheelchair that can't get up to the gas station from her housing unit because it isn't cleared during the winter months. So I was gonna maybe ask a couple of key people to come to the meeting just to express their concern. And maybe if you guys know of anybody, and like I said, I don't want hundreds of people there, but if we get a few residents that feel strongly from different parts of the community, I know there's been some women talking to Mary, our village president, about Ashwaubenon Trail and wanting that cleared. So maybe just some key people throughout the community to say, it's just not us, the committee. This is something that people in our community would want. So if you know of anybody you think that would be good, maybe invite them to that meeting to kind of share why they think it's important. But again, I don't think we want to totally overdo it, but at least to have a few people that would be good to come. All right, so June 22nd, let's do for that, and then I will reach out to everybody and we'll do a workshop type meeting to try to get everything organized for that meeting. And maybe we'll try to do that before our June bike ped meeting, in case there's anything that comes out of that that we need to get back to bike ped.
I will work on those hard numbers so that we have a concrete number that we're kind of talking hypothetically in a number of things. So I'll just make sure that we have a number of miles pinpointed. We'll come up with that kind of hard number for both in-house or contracted labor per mile.
Okay.
And then I'll talk to Greg too and just see what that impact is to the overall tax rate if you were to, let's say, add 20,000 or 25,000 to the levy.
Okay, so yeah, if you can, and you did a survey, Joel, too, I think, if you can get that to us, and then like a document that details, you know, the cost estimates and how many miles and what, I think Rexy put that together, what trails we were talking about. Then we'll have that to look at and add to the document as well. That would be great. Thank you. Anything else on that, anybody that they want to add? Otherwise, I think we got a good plan.
Thanks for doing that, Randy.
Yeah, thank you, Randy.
Sure.
All right, so we'll move on. The annual distribution of public employees and, public officials and employees code of ethics is the next agenda item. Rex or whoever put that on here, any comments on that or?
This is just, Rex can kind of cover it, but annually, this is distributed after the reappointments and appointments are made to each committee. This is in concert with municipal code. This relates to any conflicts of interest you may have serving on a committee.
Please send something open for us to sign.
At some point, I think Chris is going to be sending some notification out, as well as I think she's planning on doing some open offices, which may not have been done in the past.
Oh.
Okay.
No, four, that's good.
Yeah, that would be nice. All right, so look through the information as provided, and then you will probably get something to sign, or Chris will reach out in regard to some other information that you would need for code of ethics. All right, and then number 9, review and possible action on the 2018 plan projects. We did that already, right? Or is that? Yeah.
It would be only at some point we want to fill in those blank
Okay.
pieces. We don't have to do that today, but
Okay.
that's why we do it, so that we go back and.
Look at it.
Yep.
Okay. Sounds good. So then 10 department reports. Rex, anything else to share that we didn't touch on yet?
A couple things. So the West Main Avenue Trail project is continuing. We just got word this morning that the county approved the traffic plan, which is the crosswalks and, where the curb cuts are, as put in by McMahon and so on and so forth. So we're just waiting for one property clarification on the corner of Sand Acres and West Main. It's not even on the main trail, but it's towards the back of the lot, but it affects the front because it's not an official plat per se. So anyway, something that happened years ago is holding up the project right now. How's that?
What do you know?
But as soon as that is clarified, I believe that we are, I think 2 out of the 3 have signed they're okay to have the trail in front of on their property, and Monroe Truck is fine with it, but now they said, well, maybe we ought to actually talk to somebody like corporate or something like that. So they're going back, and it's just like, didn't you do that already when you said that?
You said it was okay.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so that's moving forward. We're hoping, we need to get that wrapped up so we can get that out to bid this year and get the project done in the fall. So we got that going on.
Can I ask one question? What is the median size? I thought you asked them to narrow down the median. Did
It's
they approve
reduced down
that?
to 5 feet.
And they approved that? That's
Yes,
okay?
I was
Okay,
good with that.
great, thanks.
Joel, Mary, and I met with the residents on Broadway last week to talk about the Ashwaubenon River Trail. Still some work to do there. We're doing some, we need to submit a plan to the DNR. We need to obviously have more information on the structure in and of itself, which means we need to do some geotechnical borings in the riverbed to find out what the riverbed is comprised of, which will determine how the pilings / piers are going to be put into the water. So we didn't want them to be thinking that the bridge was going in when they saw a big barge in the middle of the river taking these borings. So we talked with them and just kind of filled them in a little bit about where we were at. If the project moves forward, that we're looking at a higher clearance underneath for some boats. And so again, we're going back and forth on a few different things, but that project's continuing. I'm meeting with Stantec tomorrow. And a company called Custom Manufacturing, meeting over at Sherwood Forest, potentially we're going to be putting in a trail on the north side of the pond, going all the way down the north side of the channel where the bridges are way in the back. But there will be some boardwalk area that needs to go over some wetlands that have been delineated. So we're meeting out there tomorrow and having a company take a look at it, and they'll be giving us some cost estimates based on that. But that funding is already there and in place, combination of park development as well as cell tower dollars. So that is moving forward fairly quickly, actually. So we're going to be applying for some wetland permits to put the trail, the boardwalk in, and so on and so forth. So.
Nice.
So that'll be a nice addition to Sherwood, because everyone probably knows how busy that is. There's always multiple people walking in Sherwood.
It's a nice park.
Well, that's it on our plate right now.
Sounds good. State DOT, anybody got anything on state DOT? No? All right. Public safety, as I mentioned, Jeff could not make it today, but he did. I did speak to him. He gave me some information he wanted to share. I think Kyle had recommended this. He will be sharing to the committee in the future if we have any bicycle pedestrian crashes in the community. So he will bring those for us so we can talk about it.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, so he'll be doing that. He did give me 2 that happened within the last few weeks. So I'm just going to summarize those for you real quick. There are 2 calls during the time period, so in last month, both were minor. The first one was a vehicle versus a ped at Holmgren Way and Vanderpeeren Way. The driver was going about 10 miles per hour. The victim that was hit did not stay on scene and was not cooperative. Law enforcement was unable to locate the suspect, and this is the area that's under construction right now. So it wasn't anything real major, and the victim they couldn't even find, but there was a ped and vehicle accident at that site on the 24th of April. Then on the 10th of May, while on patrol, one was dispatched at 1963 Holmgren Way, which is Stadium View Bar, for the report of a hit and run. Upon arrival, I met with the pedestrian that was hit by the run vehicle. The pedestrian stated that while walking out of the bar, a vehicle was driving in the parking lot and ran over her foot. The driver of Unit 1 rolled her window down and acknowledged what happened, but did not stay on the scene.
Sorry.
Yeah. Unit 2 was not complaining of injuries, but wanted to report the incident because she felt the driver of Unit 1 was not fit to be driving home. Contact was made at the registered owner's house with the driver. Unit 1 admitted the incident happened at Stadium View while she was driving. However, she stated Unit 2 was very close to the vehicle, but she never ran over her foot. Unit 1 did not seem to be intoxicated or impaired throughout conversation. No citations were issued. No injuries reported at this time. So those are the two that went on, one in a private parking lot and one out on the road. So those are the two. But like I said, he will bring those forth. I was gonna check with him if he could do like a history, like maybe look back and see if we're having any trends of an area that we seem to get, where we seem to be getting a lot more crashes in or bike and ped incidents. So he was gonna check into that and see if he could do that as well and bring more information forward. So Jeff will start doing that at the next meeting. Any questions on either of those, but two fairly minor ones, but there were those two. And I think that was it from Jeff. And Ashwaubenon schools, anything from schools anybody know of?
I do. So, sorry. Bike school day was a week or so ago. First week in May, first Wednesday in May. Parkview and Valley View, I haven't gotten counts from either of them. They handed out, from what I understand, the bike to school passes. Pioneer, unfortunately, decided not to hand out the passes, which is a little bit disappointing. I was only informed of that after the fact from Mark Heller, who kind of organizes Pioneers. And Mark said he didn't want to hand them out because of the number of kids that are open enrolled wouldn't get a chance to get a lake pass. So, and that's kind of been a sore spot. That's been an argument with Pioneer, or a couple, not an argument, but a discussion point for a couple of years now. So because of the open enrolled students, the kids that are able to bike to school don't get a chance to bike to school or aren't encouraged to bike to school for the lake pass, because they don't want to hand out some to the kids who could bike, but not anything to the kids that are open enrolled. So that's a philosophical discussion. A little bit disappointing on that. I've got my own thoughts on it, but those are more personal in nature. So that's where we are.
Yeah. You know, other schools have done to take care of that is they actually have a site that the kids that are open enrolled could meet at. Their parents can drop them there with their bikes, and they bike in from such and such a spot, and they're still getting the same experience that everybody else is, and then they meet back there at the end of the day, and mom and dad pick them up. So there is options to be able to do something like that.
There are. Yep.
Yes.
And that has been talked about in previous years.
I understand.
Yeah.
All right, and then the last thing on the agenda is from Wello. Natalie was not able to make it today, and she did send a report in. This morning, we had a press conference to launch the Yield to Your Neighbor campaign, and if you can see my shirt, stand up. This is the official Yield to the Neighbor shirt. Anybody in the committee that would like one, please let Susie know, get a size, and she would be happy to get you a shirt. All they're asking is that you wear them out, especially when you're moving through the community. And the whole idea behind the Yield to Your Neighbor is to advise residents to be aware of people walking and biking in your community and yield to them. And be aware of them and make sure that you're doing something that doesn't put them at peril. The other part of it is The tagline for it is, it's safer if everybody pays attention to all the road users. It's safer for everybody. It's courteous. You're being courteous to other road users by paying attention and letting them do their thing at the same time you're doing your thing. And it is the law. So between those three, hopefully it will resonate with people that they'll do it either because it's safer and they're safety geeks, or they're just really polite, nice people and they don't want to hurt somebody, or they're afraid of getting the ticket, so they will do it that way. So again, if you would like a shirt, we're going to start doing, and they're starting to do some videos from people. So if you would like to volunteer to do a video of why you walk in the community, why you bike, kind of your experiences, they would love to do that with you as well. But if you would like a shirt, please reach out to Susie, give her a size that you would like, and we will get those shirts out to you. So that's Wells, and it's a regional wide, so it's Green Bay, the whole Green Bay area that is having the campaign. It'll hopefully be on the news tonight. There was Channel 5, I think, was there today, so watch Channel 5. Hopefully they'll have some press on the conference, or excuse me, the press conference this morning. So any questions on yield to your neighbor?
Good for her.
Yep. Yeah, it's a definitely, hopefully a campaign that'll take off. The other thing I just wanted to pass on is just kind of kind of came out with Wello, but Christina Shelton, who is one of our state representatives in this area, is writing a bill, in the process of writing a bill that would actually refund families up to $200 per dependent if they purchase a bicycle for their child. Their income can exceed the 200% of the federal poverty line. Under the bill, the individual must submit his or her tax returns and any documentation regarding the bicycle's purchase price, and then the credit is refundable. So she is in the process of writing that bill right now, and see if that will get through. And then people that purchase bikes for their kids will potentially get a $200 credit with their taxes. Again, in its infancy, but kind of a cool bill. Hopefully it will go through, but we will see. Anything else that anybody else has, or like public comments on biking and walking in the community? Anything else anybody wants to add on that section? The only other thing I wanted to bring up, and some of you are probably very familiar with this, the bikeability checklist, the walkability checklist. They're simple things that you can go out in your community and look at this list and basically rate your walk or rate your bike. And it's just a good way for you to see things when you're walking or biking and get a feel for what's good, what's bad, and just to help rate and give the village some input on what you like about the community, what you do not. So I may add these on the agenda in the future sometime when we slow down a little bit, just for people to take a look at and see if it's something that we want to pursue, or at least have the committee members go out. We could even do one of these, I suppose, on our June trip. You can look at these and kind of talk about it a little bit, because these are really nice things to open your eyes to what makes a community bikeable and what makes a community walkable. Yes, I'll give these to Susie, and she can send these out to you so you can take a look at these two documents as well. And then we'll maybe talk about it a little bit further at our June meeting, or our June field trip. Any other comments on biking and walking in the community, anybody?
The only thing I'd like to say is, for you, Joel, and I wish Jeff was here, I appreciate the support, because I've not been on this committee as long as some, for sure, but that support is valuable, and I don't remember having that kind of support in my first few years here. It's great that you're, engaging with us, right? So to me, it's important. So, and Jeff the same way. I mean, they got the eyes. They're on the street all the time. We aren't.
Well, it all ties together. It's education, enforcement, and engineering. All three of those have to be done well to make it safe for people to bike and walk.
Yeah.
And if they're all talking and working together, it's amazing what you can do and how much better your community.
It would be nice if we could get somebody from the school like we used to have come in here and sit in on the
Yeah,
meetings.
who was on it? Was it Brad? No.
Yeah.
Was it Brad?
Brad was, and then
Kevin Phillips was.
Kevin Phillips, yeah.
That's on my thing. I'll talk to you and see if
Yeah, it would be nice, because I think it was an asset to have somebody
Yeah, we
from
can
the
learn
school.
from, there was the
Here.
kids all day long.
Yeah. because they bought some insight that other people didn't.
I think the challenge is to find someone who's, don't get me wrong, but someone who's excited and
Yeah.
I don't want to say buys into it, but someone who's bought into the need and how it can benefit.
Right.
And I think if you get the right person, it'll definitely be.
Yeah.
And Brad did a
Brad
great
definitely
job.
was,
I mean,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, look how, I mean, we got that whole stuff, all that safe route to school work down over in Valley View.
Yep.
Lots of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, he did a lot. All right, if there's no other comments, the next bike and ped is scheduled for June 14th, and we will have that be a field trip, you guys, and we will get a schedule out, and Rex, the Magic School Bus, will come and pick us up and drive us around the community. So like I said, if you have anything that you really want to look at that is important, you know, please let Susie know or reach out to me, whatever you want to do. And we can look at adding that in as well. And try to hit a bunch of places.
Everyone meet here?
What do you think, Rex? Can we start from here?
Yeah, we can start from here. I'll park the bus right out in front.
All right, so we'll plan on starting here. We'll start at the same time, 3:30.
I would just notice that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so plan on that. Wear your sunscreen and we'll go out and hopefully the weather will be good. Anything else? Otherwise, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Randy.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, everybody. We will see you in June, and then I will get a meeting together before that with the subcommittee for the presentation of the board. Thank you for your time, everybody.